All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I'm going to ask Magistrate Scott Poston if he would to lead us in a word of prayer. We'll follow that with the pledge to the flag. You'll see we have an empty chair here next to me. Magistrate Downey is not able to attend today. His wife's brother has passed away, and they are at the visitation and funeral in Virginia. So I ask you just to remember Nate, his wife, and their family during this time too.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this day and the many blessings that you have given us in life. Father, we just pray that you'll be with us today as we conduct the business of the county. Father, we just ask a special prayer for the Downey family as they are going through these troubled times, and just pray that you would maybe lay a comforting hand upon them. And Father, as I said, I just hope that you're with us today throughout this meeting, and all that's said and done is pleasing you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gentlemen, if y'all had an opportunity to review the minutes of our July 20th regular fiscal court meeting, I'd need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Scott
Yeah, Scott abstained. The rest were ayes. Motion carries. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review our minutes of the July 28th special called fiscal court meeting, I would need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron and a second by Scott. Any question or discussion about those minutes? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, is if you had an opportunity to review the ordinance that we need to have second reading and final passage of ordinance fiscal year 21-22, budget ordinance number 220.230, amendment number 1. And again, this is amending in ARPA money and the money the state awarded for Eddings Road project.
Motion made.
Second.
Got a motion by Scott, second by Marty. Any question or discussion? Pam, on the ordinances, we'll do a roll call.
Scott Poston.
Yes.
Marty Taylor.
Yes.
Myron Thurman.
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. Gentlemen, then, if you had an opportunity to review this resolution that authorizes the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Rural Secondary Road Program 80/20 funding for drainage structure replacements on Howard Brewer Road and Pleasant Hill Road, we would need a motion and a second to authorize that, or to adopt that resolution and authorize the county judge to sign it. And these will be reimbursed monies. We'll have to spend this money, and then we'll submit it to the state and be reimbursed the 80.
Have they been approved yet?
Yeah. Yes. What Bobby, for those that can't hear what Bobby's saying, the state has approved the project. We just have to adopt this resolution, and I have to sign it, and we have to send it back.
Okay.
And we can't start any work until we get all documents signed, sealed, and delivered.
I'll make the motion, and after a second, I do have a quick one.
Okay.
Simple
Okay.
question.
So we got a motion by Marty, second by Myron, and
What the total amount of the project?
the reimbursement part's
It's
$39,000.
39.1, but,
Yeah, so-
but is that 80%? That's the 80%?
That's 80% of the.
So what, about 55,000 or something like that?
Yeah, 50 some
Oh,
odd.
that's just
And,
what
and
I,
obviously, if something happens that we can't, if we go over, say we're $1,000 over,
Right.
we're responsible
Exactly.
for that. They're only going to reimburse the $39,000.
exactly.
And we get credit for our labor and equipment is included in that.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, let's see. Well, all right. If you had an opportunity to review the budget transfers, we need a motion and a second to approve those.
So moved.
Motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the cash transfers, we would need a motion and a second to approve that. It's a cash transfer of $429,813 from the general fund to the jail. That sounds like an enormously large number, but 60,000 of it is the big bond payment, and then the other is to cover payroll pending whether or not the Class D money hits. And does that leave us with only one more big bond payment?
We have another 39,178, so it'd be the small one.
Well, I know the small one, but I mean, after this, we have one more big bond payment next year, and that would be the last big bond payment.
Retires the bond.
Right. Yeah.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the bills and claims, we would need a motion and a second to approve those.
So moved.
Motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the treasurer's fiscal year 2021 settlement, I'd need a motion and a second to approve that. And I assume this would be like our financial statements. It would be subject to audit.
Be subject to audit.
It,
Yes.
and does it require signatures?
I'm sure that it does.
The only place I see is the county treasurer's signature. We would need to authorize the county treasurer to sign this statement.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then finally, this was able to get this in. Hopefully you guys were able to see this on the portal. If you had an opportunity to review the July 2021 financial statement, we would need a motion and a second to approve that statement subject to audit and authorize the county judge and the county treasurer to sign it.
So moved.
Motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Marty. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, going on to the reports, I have just a couple of things I want to share. Yesterday, at the request of the county treasurer, we looked at reworking our 911 phone lines, and Adam was able to get that task taken care of, and that task alone will save the county about $500 per month. So that was a pretty good first day. Now something a little more serious is if you're watching or listening or you know anybody that might be interested, we need some people that are willing to be volunteer firefighters that have the ability to show up. We're having trouble getting enough volunteers to be able to be out on call. If you're interested, you need to go by either you can go by the fire department or you can call out there 270-586-7174, talk to Chief Leslie Goodrum or the Deputy Chief Nelson Slaughter. But we would like for anyone that's interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter to reach out to the fire department, either in person or by phone, at that 270-586-7174. It's a very important responsibility, and we need some folks to help out there. And I don't know, Nelson, do you want to share anything about that? I know the chief's out this week.
Anything specific you want to know, or?
Just what would qualifications be? If someone were interested, what kind of qualifications would they need to come and say, hey, I'm interested in being a volunteer firefighter?
18 years of age, current driver's license, live in Simpson County. We have about a 10-month training period to get you qualified to where you can make all the runs. We have a tiered approach that allows us to get you in the game a little sooner. We're desperately needing some folks that are willing and able to volunteer, hoping to start the process. It's not a quick process of hiring, but if you've got any questions, give us a call. Again, 270-586-7174. Stop by the station, answer any further questions, and we'll get you an application, get the process going.
Thank you, Nelson. All right. Myron, you have some information for us today?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think in 19, we had discussed naming of some streets out at the park. And, of course, COVID hit, it kind of put everything on the back burner. You guys have got some drawings here that, meeting with, after I met with the park director, we had come up with some roads here. Not to say this is the way they need to be named, but you can see where you got Larry Randolph Drive. He was very instrumental in getting that loop, Marty, I think. Very instrumental in getting that loop put in. And then also another road, which would be going down in front of the Ag Building. You know, you go down, that's kind of a one-way street. You go down the bottom there, close to the creek, you'll make a left turn and come right back up. Also, that road, we're contemplating on naming that Charles McCutcheon Senior Loop. And then after talking with Terry Joyner, as you guys can see where it's colored in pink, Terry suggested that road there, which would be right off of North Street, would be called Community Park Circle. It goes around beside the Ag Building, behind the maintenance department, back around behind the livestock barn, and then back out on right there at the corner of North Street. I did talk to Bob Palmer. We got on Google Map the other day, and I don't know who named North Street down into the park, but if you get on Google Map, there's a section of the North Street that continues straight down like you're going to the lower softball field. That street there is closed off to the public. And if it's, like I said, I asked Bob, and maybe the state done it. I don't know who named that North Street, but I think that definitely needs to go away. That's not even a public street anymore. They may use it for maintenance, but it's not a public street. And also, this would give the park an address. They don't even have an address out there at the park. So I'm asking the court to consider this.
Well, I think we had discussed this and had said go forward with it. I don't know, Bob, do you want to address any of this? But because my thinking is, if everybody's good with the way these are marked, I'm good with authorizing the name change and let's get it done.
What, should this, over here behind the maintenance barn, that'll be Community Park Drive out to Kenneth Utley Drive?
Well,
Because
that
that's
was-
not on there, so that,
That's correct. Now, I did ask Terry about that, and he didn't address that. But that is a way out of the park.
yeah, that should be listed on there too, all the way out to, because that's a road
Goes
out.
that on? Yeah.
So that should be on there too. It's the only thing I see, and I don't know if I know this is blocked off down by the Little League fields when you come straight off, but there's people would actually drive down there. I don't know if we need to extend that.
Is it still
Down.
is it still just a gravel road, or is it paved?
Well, they put gates up across that road, but I thought it was paved down there, and there's a gravel parking lot, but I
I think
thought,
the handicap, there's some handicap parking down there, and I think they gotta go around another way, but I think that gate, in talking to Terry, it stays closed other than just used for maintenance.
okay,
It's gated on both sides. There's no driving through there.
okay.
It's paved, because it was paved all the way down through there at one time. But when the soccer fields and all that was moved over there was a lot of concern about walking back and forth to the concession area. So they chose to put the gates up and block that off. As we stand today, North Street officially runs all the way down to the parking lot that goes over to the batting cage. So that's one of the things Myers wanted to address. In the communications committee meetings we've had in the last number of years, the last recommendation we had there was to address the park at 800 North Street. Right now, dispatch, if they dispatch an ambulance or law enforcement to the park, they're sending them out on the road coming from the south. What is that?
Filter plant road.
Filter plant road?
Filter plant road, which is completely wrong.
So
So
right
our
now,
recommendation was to address the entire park, 800 North Street, and then give all of these locations a location identifier.
so somebody, say, state police are called out there, and the state police officer is not from this area. You tell them go to 800 North Street right now, and then find the Pee Wee field.
We would put an identifier of some sort on that. That's,
But if we had it like this, you could give an address as Community Park Drive and have a number, and that would be the Pee Wee field. Or you could give an address to the upper softball field on Community Park Drive. That would be the address. Or on Larry Randolph Drive is the lower softball field.
it can be whatever. We've got multiple mobile home parks in Simpson County that have one address and 50 lots. And we have no problems finding those locations.
Well, I brought
So,
this,
so my question is, from an emergency response standpoint and 911 standpoint, is there an issue with naming the road something as presented right here? No issue whatsoever? Then my suggestion would be that we adopt this, but I think we should, to Marty's point, the little spur road that comes off that circle that goes out to Ditmore Forward, I think we need to have a different name for it other than Community Park Circle.
okay.
Yeah,
I think,
I agree.
and I have no choice what the name is. It doesn't matter what the name is.
I'm fine. I brought this up two years ago because I served on the court with Larry and Charlie. They were both very instrumental in doing things at the park, especially Larry on a lot of work that he did helping get things done out there. And I thought it would be a good honor to those two individuals to have some roads named after them in the park. So I'm perfectly fine with this if the rest of the court is.
So we would need to come up with a name for that spur.
Yeah, I don't know that it should be Community Park Circle all the way around and then the road that shoots out to Ditmore Forward too.
Because you could always come back next meeting or two and name that road.
Yeah, we could come up with a name for that road, but I'm good with authorizing the name change for these 3 areas today if everybody's good.
If you need a motion, I'll make a motion.
So,
I don't have a copy, that would help. Thank you.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, if you'll repeat all the names.
okay, so
completely.
we have a motion to name 3 different street areas or road areas in the park to Charles McCutcheon Senior Loop, Larry Randolph Drive, and Community Park Circle. And they're color-coded and highlighted as such.
Okay,
And we have that motion by Marty.
Second.
We have a second by Myron. Other than mine, is there any other question or discussion? I have one question. And that question is, would this be contingent? Do we have the full ability to name these roads, or would this be contingent that the city would have to approve too? I don't know, Counselor.
Good question.
I thought the park was the park in the city?
No.
I didn't think the park was in the city.
Well, then that answers that question. If it's not in the city, we have the ability to name the road, so carry on. Any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Gentlemen, we do need to try to figure out a name for that little spur road from Ditmore forward into that circle. Whatever, we can come up with something and bring it back next meeting.
I think the sheriff has a question.
Sheriff, yes, sir?
Parks in the city.
Who?
The parks in the city, just so y'all know.
Oh. Okay,
Not getting into this, but
okay,
If they have any objections, I'm sure they'll tell us.
yes. All right. Myron, did you have anything else?
Only one other thing, I don't know about the other mattresses, but I'm hearing the last couple of months, I'm getting quite a few conversations, quite a few calls concerning the explosion of growth in our community. I mean, it's overwhelming me. But I don't know if the public is hearing about the public hearings that planning and zoning are having. I mean, I know you got to post a sign, and I guess it's probably put in the paper. Carter, is that?
It has to be advertised in the paper,
Right.
yes.
I
And
just
it's
don't
on the
think it's-
county's website.
Pardon me?
When, anytime there's a public hearing, it's on the county's website and in the newspaper.
Okay. Well, I talked to a gentleman last night, and I just urged him, and I want to urge the public, if they got concerns, please go to these public hearings. That's what these public hearings are about. Now, does planning and zoning need to come up with a different strategy on how they get the word out? That part's yet to be determined.
I think, Myron, one of the issues can be from the general public is a lack of knowledge or understanding of zones and the planning and zoning regulations. And that's one of the things, in fact, we've got a meeting this afternoon that we're working to try to create a comprehensive growth plan and establish zoning district areas that may not be allowed to change. But I think a lot of what has stemmed lately is people have come in, developers, builders, whatever, have come in to do a certain project, and those projects, the piece of property they have already been zoned correctly to do the project they want. They've not even had to request a zone change. And so I think that has stirred a little bit. But you're right, anytime there is a zone change, there is a public hearing. But I think we've had a couple of projects that's kind of piqued some interest that didn't require zone changes because the people purchased a property that was already zoned accurately for what their intended use was. And that's the kind of things that we've got to look at in this growth plan is, what do we want work? And how do we establish what zones need to be in what place? So, but you're right. You need to be at the meet. If you have interest or concern, you should be at the meetings.
That's all I have.
Scott, you have anything?
No, sir.
Marty?
Just to add to that, I think, I know a spot of land may be zoned, but these developers, if they're developing a big area, maybe planning and zoning needs to require them to do upgrades to the roads, because if you take a spot of land that is just traveled by, say, 50 cars a day, and you put a big apartment complex on it, and then you're all of a sudden you up it to 300 cars a day, that falls back on either the city or the county.
Yeah.
And so the developer there should be some kind of something that planning and zoning requires on these developers to bond these roads or do something to help with with an influx of a lot of more traffic,
Yeah.
just to add to that. And the other thing I had a pretty lengthy conversation with Sean McPherson yesterday. We've got an issue out on 31 South by the Tyson chicken feed mill. It's not bad this time of year, but here in about a month and a half, there will be trucks blocking 31W on the shoulders and the center lane. And I have personally delivered corn out there. I know a lot of people that do, and every one of us are in agreement. Somebody's going to get killed out there one day. Because when you've got trucks blocking both shoulders
And the median.
and a truck comes out of that place, say they come out and they're going south, and a car's going south on 31 and they can't see, it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hurt bad. I talked to Sean yesterday about seeing if the state could put up some no parking signs on that median. I've went out and talked to Tyson. I've talked to the people that are hauling corn out there. I would like for when this starts this fall, for the sheriff's department and the city police to go out and issue citations for a couple of weeks, just warnings. And then after that, if they're still doing it, give them a no parking ticket. I've asked Tyson, and they've been asked on numerous occasions. They have plenty of land to do it, to build a parking lot to get these trucks off the road. And they simply will not do it. So
And if y'all recall, we even sent them a letter,
Yeah.
I think it was last year, and there was absolutely zero response back from that letter that we sent.
And like I say, the guys that I've talked to that deliver out there, they are in total agreement with me that somebody's going to get hurt bad one of these days. And when they do, they're going to sue. If somebody has a wreck, they're going to sue the truck they hit and any truck sitting there, and Tyson and the state for letting them do it, and the county if they can't. I mean, they're going to sue everybody they can if somebody gets hurt.
Did Sean seem to think that the state would put some no parking signs on the shoulders?
He was going back today to a transportation meeting and was going to give me a call back, but he said he didn't see a problem with it, with the issue that we're having there. So, and I know you and I have talked about this, but I would like to send another letter to Tyson to let them know what's going to happen. But I don't know if we need to send it on physical court letterhead, if it needs to come from the county attorney.
Yeah, that's what Councilor Marty and I were talking about it. I said, I don't mind to draft the letter, but it might be best if it's on county attorney letterhead.
I don't mind necessarily doing that, but we need to make sure that the state's gonna play ball and do what you, I mean, I understand Sean didn't think it was gonna be a problem, but we need confirmation that's what they're gonna do.
He said he would call me back today or tomorrow and
I
let me
think
know.
Sam's right. If we have confirmation that they're going to post it no parking, I think we can draft a thing that says, okay, we've asked this to be resolved, it's still occurring, the state is going to post no parking on the shoulder of the road, we're expecting that to be honored, and we're going to enforce that strictly here in Simpson County and let that come from.
Well, isn't that an emergency lane?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And just so people, and we also, I mean, we have the authority on Pedens Mill Road because they're doing it on Pedens Mill Road too. But just so anybody that's watches that don't know, last year during harvest, there were trucks, if you were coming north on 31W and you get to the Tyson entrance, there were a truck from Tyson entrance all the way past Exit 2 Liquors. There were, on that side, if you were coming south, there were trucks blocking the median from the Tyson entrance to nearly Walmart, plus they were blocking the turning lane. And they're waiting to get turned in. It's not the truck's fault it's the industry's fault for not providing a place to get their product in. But we will not let Tractor Supply Company put in their warehouse out there and let them stage trucks on 100. We don't let any other industry do that. I don't think we should let them, I don't really care for people parking on the road. I just don't want anybody to get hurt. And that's what's going to happen if some action is not taken.
Well, I say, let's hear back from Sean and see if we get a positive from him. If he says it's a go, we'll put something together and send it to him and say,
Okay.
here's what's going on.
I also talked to him asked him about the Highway 100 widening from Hickory Flat on to Allen County. He said that was back in the works, that he had an understanding that it was all approved, but they had some issues with some landowners. And I said, well, just to let you know, the landowners didn't have an issue with staying with the existing road. They didn't want the state to split all the farms up. He didn't know that. They made it out to be that nobody out there wanted that road. So now that he knows that they wanted to stay with the existing road, then he has some more information to go there with. And I also brought up the issue out here in front of TSC where they're letting that water go across the road when it rains a bunch.
I don't think they're just letting it. I think it just happens because of poor engineering.
Yeah, well, that's why I think they let that water go across that road. And that's what I told him. When they designed that all that water comes out of that parking lot and goes straight across 31W. So, but it was a good conversation, a lengthy conversation. But when I hear back from him, I'll let you all know what he says.
Very good. Counselor? No report. Poor. Sheriff?
No report.
Brent, anything from the jail?
Just the numbers.
Okay. You're welcome to come up and share them.
The numbers today is 282 inmates, 224 of those being state, 58 county inmates.
You had an influx.
County inmates, but fortunately we've had other people state inmates over what we anticipated.
Very good.
How many state inmates, Brent?
224.
224, we had burned our overtime to get those folks here, but it's working.
Very good.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Carter, anything with planning and zoning? Bob, emergency management? Nelson, anything in the fire department? Bobby, anything in the road department?
Just give you some information,
Okay.
You all are aware that Scott Waste manages the convenience center, and they've put up some gates and done some work out there. Next week, we're going to tear down the old, I guess that was the old dog pound actually one time, the building there. We're going to tear that down. They're going to move all those dumpsters to that end of that site so they can watch it. But I also have cameras ordered, because we put signs up there. We have a lot of trouble with people dumping. Of course, they're only open 3.5 days a week. But we've got some cameras ordered where we can monitor that, so maybe we can help with some of that. But I just want you to know we're going to tear that building down.
Are they manning that better now? Because I know you said they got signs saying they're open 3.5 days a week. Before when I hear they're not,
But you know, I've been
they're not
watching
there
that
during their
since y'all had
posted
a
hours, so.
discussion, and I didn't mention it last time, but before we say too much, we need to make sure what they're doing, because as far as I know, they're there the days they're supposed to be there.
Okay.
So I think when you hear that, a lot of times, you're just hearing people complaining because they're not open the days they want them to be open.
I think there's correct, you said 3.5. I think it's only 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Tuesday, Friday, and half a day Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Bill, maintenance department?
You were handed out a couple proposals, and I want to look at the 1148, which is the proposal for the coal at the Simpson County Jail. The first page actually shows the breakdown of the cost. One of the big increases with Freon over the last several weeks, it has doubled in price. So it went from about $25 a pound to $49 a pound. So that's how much increase it would have been if we'd done it a few weeks ago. But anyway, if you look on the page where I put some information down of the proposals, we had proposal number 1 is the one that you're looking at, and the total for that was $8,000. And I have any information on that unit, anything that anybody wants to give any questions on. The second proposal, contractor decided not to, said he didn't feel like he could get the coal in time. And, but he gave a verbal estimate, converting the leak down to jail, and he said that's about what he figured it would be. So, my request to the court is that we have a motion and second and carried for to go ahead and do proposal number 1 and get that unit repaired. I guess one of my concerns on that unit, because I'm kind of walking into this after the fact, that I'm afraid we have more issues of that, but we're going to have a starting point. You know, we're not where we can put $100,000 in a new unit, a whole new system down there. So I'm not 100% sure that, and I would like to be, but I can't be, that this coal is going to fix all the issues, because we have a system underneath that train, a big unit that divides everything up for 8 or 9 different zones. And I guess my concern was that we added Freon a few weeks ago, and I'm still getting reports that it's not exactly working like it should. So, but I feel like on this, we know for sure it's got a leak, and we're going to probably double check that again. But this leak's going to have to be fixed, and then we can get the proper charge in those units, and then move on until we can do something. That unit is not that old. It's a 2013 unit, so it's really not that old. To have a coal leak in it is unusual, but there again, that was a different kind of coal than what normally put in one. That's a channel coal, aluminum, and when that aluminum leaks and that stuff is thin as paper, you're not going to weld it, you're not going to repair it, you've got to replace it. So if we get a motion on that one, then I can move to the second one, proposal.
Do we need to name the company?
No, just proposal number 1.
Okay. Because I looked at the date, 7/21, that'd be 3 weeks tomorrow, and this is only good for 30 days. So move to do proposal number 1.
So we got a motion for proposal number 1.
Second.
Scott, second. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed?
The coal
Motion
hasn't been
carries.
ordered yet. We weren't going to order it until it was approved this morning, so the coal will get ordered probably this afternoon. The second project here I'm looking at is down here at the old historical jail. The cell units down here, they actually have a first and second floor unit. And the best I can determine from looking back, those units, both of them are somewhere in the 90s, because they're both R12 units, and they quit making R12 and putting them in units in 2000. So it's prior to 2000, so they're at least 21. I think they're about 25, 26 years old. Those units have been Freon added about every year. And this time we had it Freon added, I had the technician, I said, check and see, you know, what kind of leakage we're doing here. And he said he found leaks everywhere. The coil frame was rusted out. We got water leaking into the bottom chambers. So that unit's going to have to be replaced. I don't see you putting any more money in that unit with the age that it's got on it. It's probably got I would say by now it's getting close to having a hole in a heat exchanger. Those units are gas, they're not heat pumped, they're gas. I talked to the director down there, James Henry Schneider, because what's being kept in them rooms are records. And I asked him if there's a possibility that we could move those records over to the other building, because that building's completely heated and aired, and we could eliminate them units in the old jail. And he said that probably couldn't. The second floor unit, the one we're talking about replacing, he said there's a lot of records up there, some of the oldest records that they have. And they're wanting to keep them in there because of the fire, they're not going to, be safer there. If it had a fire, they're not going to burn up, and it's going to be hard to have a fire in there. So they want to keep those records in there. So I asked him about the first floor too. The first floor has got the exact same unit, split unit. It's Freon added. We're going to have to look at that one probably maybe next year, if not before, replacing it as well. And he said they have displays and stuff on the first floor, and when they having ramp up for tours and stuff, they really want to be able to, people to go in there and look at their displays. So I guess my point is it looks like we're going to have to fix them and keep that section of the jails heated and cooled. If you look at the proposal, we had to go with a 90% unit on them. We actually had bid 80%, but we had to, because of the vent can't, there's no way to run a vent. So we have to run a power vent. So the power vent is a 2-inch vent. It would have to be run out between the bars. The windows that are actually in there, they're plexiglassed in now, but that's the biggest opening we got is there's that 2-inch space to get that power vent out. So we're going to have to put 90% back in there. And it went from, that added from the original proposal, that added $500 because of the 90% furnace. But if you look on the second sheet, what we was able to do, they had 2 units down there that were donated to them that was setting up in the Crabtree building upstairs. They're three-phase, 3-ton heat pumps. And we don't have anything that I know of sitting around that we have heat pumps. Just about everything we have is gas-fired. So they're really no use. So we were actually, the contractor went and looked at those units and give us $250 for each one of those units. We have no money in them. They were donated, and they can't be used down there. They can't be used anywhere. So he actually gave us a $500 trade-in on them. He'll pick them units up when they do the install. And if you also look on this proposal, I talked to James Henry about maybe splitting some of the cost, and he said they got some grant money and he would probably help us out on that. So I actually split the bid in half of $2,750 each. And since the units were actually given to them, I took the $500 off their half. So they're going to be paying $2,250. We're going to be paying $2,750, and then of course we'll get the credit for the 2 units at $500, and that gets us back up to our $5,500. So those units that were donated they're 2016, so they're out of warranty. There's no compressor warranty or nothing on them, and even if it was, being a commercial unit, they only had a 1 year. So they're not really beneficial to us. They're just heavy weight sitting over on that second floor. So it's going to be to our advantage just to take a trade in on them and get that proposal down just a little bit. So
Could you get something in writing? You said that James Henry said they probably would help. Could you get that in writing?
I did not get it in writing
Could
because
you do it, please?
I can. They haven't, the board, at the time we talked, their board hasn't met. So I can do that.
And what was the reasons why these records couldn't be stored in the History Center? What was the reason why?
Because of the fire. They said that the old jail being solid rock, that less chance of them catching on fire over here. If they caught on fire over there, they'd lose. These records were the most historical that they have. So I'm simply going by what he said because I would have liked to get, we have four, and possibly, I found another one up in the attic. We actually got 5 units down there that's running a building that's not occupied except for, and that's we've got a lot going on down there, but there's a lot of records down there.
Are we approaching a different way to store records? I mean, as far as that information, we are several meetings back, I mean, Are we looking at a different way to
We-
to
we-
store records?
Yes, eventually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I asked him about putting them on electronic files, and he said they're kind of working on it, but I don't think that's going to move very fast.
Well, we're gonna be heating and cooling a part of a building that has nothing in there but just records.
But
Tourists from
if
time
you
to
don't
time.
keep on them records, if you don't keep the
Keep
area
it constant.
climate controlled, then
Yeah.
then
Yeah, I
it'll be a
understand
curation
that,
of the
but that would
documents.
not be the case if they were stored electronically.
True.
True.
But it may be more problematic to get records from the 1800s and early 1900s than it would to get records from the 1980s.
My only thing was that the heating and cooling them sections is okay, but they're still talking about having to add a dehumidifier. To me, that is not the best place in a stone, solid rock building, to put records, because you're going to constantly have moisture when you run an air conditioner. You're going to draw the moisture out of the stone and everywhere, and it's still not as, to me, and I haven't run any humidity checks down there, but it might be good to run one and see what kind of humidity we're running in that building. To me, I think there's still a lot of dampness in there, because one thing, you're dumping just a bunch of cold air in there. You don't have anybody in there using it, so it's really just conditioning the stone and trying to keep those records dry. We're having to pump the water out. There's no way to put a drain in there. There's no way to, just like this, there's no way to do anything else. We have to have electric pumps to pump the condensate out. And with this 90% furnace, it's going to have a pump to pump the water out on it too. So, but I didn't get into that because I didn't feel like that's my deal. My deal is to fix it. They want it fixed. They want it back in operation. I feel like that's my
Well, I like to have
responsibility.
something on paper that they're gonna take care of half of this expense. Probably.
How about if I move to approve this contingent on the Historical Society Board meeting and approving to pay their part of it?
Sounds good. So we got a motion to approve this contingent upon the Historical Society Board meeting and agreeing to pay their portion.
Second.
Second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
The only other thing I have, in case you didn't notice, the sidewalk's been removed on the west side of the,
Somebody took our sidewalk?
they took it up. And I thank the Public Works they saved us a lot of money on getting that up. And they're gonna help put the brick back at the end. Concrete contractor's gonna be there today at lunch and start setting the forms, and he's got concrete coming at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And just so people know too, like if you're listening to this and you drive by and see all that, it's not that we're just doing that because we just want to spend money. There were literally holes in this section of the sidewalk that you could drop your foot off in and twist, break an ankle, or even fall. I mean, it was
And
bad.
How deep are they gonna pour that concrete?
Hmm?
How deep are they gonna pour that concrete?
There's only gonna be a new slab, only gonna be 4. But we actually, when we were taking it up yesterday, we found 12-inch.
Yeah, I noticed it was that deep.
There were some
and I was like,
sidewalks
sure
poured
they're
on
not
top
gonna
of
pour it that deep.
sidewalks.
We'll
Yeah.
rock it and then pour 4 inches
And
concrete.
they're going to do a little bit of changing out at the end. We're going to ramp it down to meet the brick instead of trying to make the brick come up to it. So, and when you do one thing, I mean,
One thing.
I would have
leads to
liked to
another.
have done more, but with our budget, constraints, we're going to have to do it in phases, and that's going to be phase 1. Phase 2 will be the east side, and then we'll start working on the sides. But to where we're doing it, we can tear out some of those sides and not have to, disturb our new sidewalks.
I'm sure y'all have been around. I mean, honestly, the concrete all the way around the courthouse is in, put it bluntly, it's in terrible shape. This was the worst. All right, gentlemen, I need to get someone to make a motion that we move into executive session for, according to KRS 61.810, paragraph B, deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency, but only when the publicity would be likely to all to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use and sold by a public agency.
So moved.
Motion by Marty. Second by Myron. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, we'll take about a 3 or 4 minute break and move to the meeting.